Thank you, Mr. President. Dear leftists, I'm very happy to take part in this debate about democracy in Europe. So let me give you some example of very major democracy in Poland, over 1,000 years of tradition of Polish nation. Polish nation rejected you, dear leftists, 8 times. 8 times in a row you have lost elections in Poland. So get used to it, because you're going to lose again. That's number one. Let me give you some data about Poland and Polish democracy. The lowest unemployment in European Union is Poland. The highest GDP after COVID in European Union is Poland. One of the lowest debts in European Union is Poland. So don't give us this rubbish about the need of educated immigration, as we heard yesterday. We don't need your doctors, we don't need your engineers. Take them all and pay for them. We don't need them. You know why? Because there is a 0 terrorist attacks in Poland. Why? Because there is no illegal migration in Poland. So don't give me this look. Don't give me these arguments about the populism, because this is a fact. This is your data from Eurostat. So we don't need your engineers. We don't need your doctors. Take them. Do not teach us. Do not teach us about democracy, because we know what the democracy is. So learn from Poland. Be like Poland. Thank you very much.
New EU sanctions are to be imposed on Belarus after a crisis on its border with Poland, which is also the EU's external frontier. Thousands of migrants from the Middle East and some from Afghanistan have made their way from Belarus to the Polish border and are now trapped there. Belarus's president, who has the support of Russia's Vladimir Putin, is accused of orchestrating the crisis by flying migrants in and pushing them towards the EU. He denies that. Our correspondent Steve Rosenberg has this eyewitness account from the Belarus side of the border.
In the migrant camp, word had got out. They'd been told this was the moment to make it into the EU. Everyone here wanted to believe it was going to happen. And the Belarusian soldiers didn't try to stop them. In their thousands, they streamed towards the border crossing that leads from Belarus to Poland. And the closer they came, the more urgent it got. The last fence on the Belarus side swept away.
So after a week in the camp, the migrants are now pouring through right up to the checkpoint with Poland. They're determined to be let through to the European Union.
Attention, attention.
But it was no entry.
If you don't follow
Polish police were out in force and standing firm.
All this baby crying for a milk, for a nappy, we don't have nothing. Please come and help these people, all guys.
The EU says Belarus is using migrants as a weapon against the West to pressure Europe, a form of hybrid warfare.
These people want a better life. They are desperate to get to the European Union, which is right here. But the EU says that these migrants are being used, exploited by Belarus to spark a humanitarian crisis on the EU's doorstep.
Back in the camp, we heard stories of how Belarusian soldiers had helped some migrants try to cross illegally into Poland.
In the night, they told us, you will go to Poland. They cut the fence. The Belarusian cut for us, and we ran. We ran a lot, and then we hide ourselves in the forest. They see us and return back to the site. It is like a football game. We are in the middle.
Many of these migrants from the Middle East say they're escaping conflict at home. They've paid thousands of dollars each to get here, but they're stuck. They say there's no way back, but for now, there's no way.
In recent years, Poland found itself at the forefront of a significant geopolitical and humanitarian challenge, a surge of illegal immigration orchestrated from Belarus. This crisis, which began escalating in late 2021, not only tested Poland's borders, but also strained its diplomatic relations within the European Union and beyond. To understand how Poland navigated and mitigated this complex issue requires delving into the intricate web of political manoeuvring, humanitarian concerns, and strategic decisions that shaped its response.
Ahmed, an English teacher from Syria, has tried 4 times to climb the fence along the Belarus border, waiting for a chance to head west into EU member Poland, where he could apply for asylum.
We came from war to find a good life. We came for peace. We are not against anybody here.
He is part of a group of about a dozen people from the Middle East trying to cross the border in the forest. On the other side, armed Polish border guards and soldiers keep a close eye on the group. Prime Minister Donald Tusk's centric Civic Coalition Party came first in the European Parliament elections over the weekend. But gains by the far right in the vote, which calls for tougher border controls, will heighten tensions over migration. The standoff here has an extra geopolitical edge. Poland and the European Union have accused Belarus and Russia of trying to spread chaos since 2021 by pushing migrants over the frontier. Warsaw calls it a hybrid war. Moscow and Minsk have dismissed the accusations. According to Polish government figures, the number of people arriving has been rising. Last week, a soldier patrolling the border died after succumbing to his wounds from a confrontation with migrants on May 28th. In response, Tusk's pro-EU government has announced plans to reintroduce a no-go zone along the frontier. Paweł Zalewski is the country's deputy defense minister.
I ta granica niestety bezpieczna nie jest.
This border is not safe, unfortunately. The purpose of this zone is to ensure that no one is exposed to the type of attack that Polish soldiers are exposed to.
Nie był narażony na tego typu atak, na jaki jest narażony, na jakie są narażeni polscy żołnierze.
Noaman El-Hemyari, a 24-year-old graphic designer from Yemen, made it through the fence at the border. He had originally applied for a Polish student visa from Yemen, which was rejected. So he traveled to Moscow, then Belarus, and later the border area where he spent 22 days.
There we had no food, no water. We've been starving and dying. The last day we crossed the Polish border.
How did you cross?
We jumped. We had a ladder, wooden ladder, and then we put it, and then we jumped. We ran from the forest, and then we contact the organization.
Agata Kluszewska runs the organization El-Hemyari contacted. She had come to the forest to help him and his 5 companions start the asylum application process and to inform border guards who would take them to a processing center. She said the no-go zone, when it is introduced, will make things even more difficult.
The zone rules will affect us very much because you can only do your professional work in this zone, but not voluntary one, for example, which will limit the number of people who can get in. It will require us to hide again and do some partisan work. What is more, and it is absurd, it will require the service members who are here to protect the borders to chase us. Therefore, it is a total waste of resources.
First Post reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alison Lagrange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections, to climate change, to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post.
The crisis stemmed from Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko's decision to exploit migrants, primarily from the Middle East and Afghanistan, as a political weapon against the European Union. Lukashenko, facing internal dissent and international sanctions following a contested election in 2020, turned to hybrid warfare tactics, leveraging migration to destabilize neighboring countries and exert pressure on the EU. Thousands of migrants were encouraged to travel to Belarus under false pretenses of easier access to the EU. Belarusian authorities facilitated their journey towards the Polish border, disregarding international norms and humanitarian considerations. This maneuver not only overwhelmed Polish border guards, but also triggered a humanitarian crisis at the EU's eastern frontier. Poland, led by the Law and Justice Party, PIS, swiftly responded to the crisis with a dual strategy, bolstering border security and asserting its sovereignty within the EU framework. The Polish government, under Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, deployed around 12,000 troops to reinforce the border areas and prevent illegal crossings. This military presence, combined with advanced surveillance technologies and physical barriers, aimed to deter further incursions effectively.
Poland's government has long been proud of its strong stance against migration. While other European nations welcomed in hundreds of thousands of people who'd fled war, Poland stood firm with its borders firmly closed. Warsaw has resisted taking in refugees from Syria, Afghanistan and Eritrea, among others. But then the government realized the country had a problem, a massive labor shortage. So their solution, oversee the largest influx of migrant workers the country has seen in recent history. Over the last few years, more than 2 million foreigners have arrived in Poland. They're mostly Christian from neighboring Ukraine. So are migrants okay so long as they're not Muslim? Well, to answer that, we're joined by Polish MP Dominik Tarczyński from the ruling Law and Justice Party. He's also the Vice President of the European Conservatives Group in the Council of Europe. Dominik, is that it? 2 million Ukrainians are okay, but not one Muslim, because that's just how you guys feel about it.
Good evening, Imran. Thank you for having me. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with Islamophobia. It's all about safety. As I said previously, everyone is allowed to apply. Everyone is allowed to submit the documents, ask for a permission, ask for a visa, and then our interior minister will decide if he's needed for our society. The difference between immigration and refugees as a legal difference. You are mixing words. It's very important because the difference is quite big. First of all, refugee is the person who flees to the first safe country by the international law. Immigrant, especially illegal immigrant, is not welcome in Poland. This is what we promised, and these words will be kept. Basically, we are not talking about people who are in need. We are not talking about Muslims. We are talking about a law, international law and Polish law. We don't want any illegal migration in Poland. This is what we promised. This is why our government was elected, and not even one Muslim illegal migrant will come to Poland, ever.
What do you mean by safety? Why is safety connected to Muslim? Explain that to me.
First of all, that's very clear, very simple. In Germany, over 200,000 of so-called refugees just vanished, disappeared. Nobody knows who are they, where are they, and what are they going to do. Nobody knows. 200,000 people. Can you imagine how many people is that? It's just crazy. So this quota system, which was offered by Germany, failed, as we know, and this is against our safety in Europe. This is very huge issue. First of all, I'm talking about the terrorist attacks committed by radical Islamists. I couldn't hear very strong words from imams who would condemn this kind of attacks. That's number one. Rapes in Sweden, hidden for 13 months.
At the same time, Poland emphasised the humanitarian dimension of the crisis, providing temporary shelter and humanitarian aid to migrants stranded at the border. Despite facing criticism for its tough stance on immigration, Poland maintained that its actions were necessary to uphold EU laws and protect its national security. The crisis exposed deep divisions within the European Union regarding immigration policy and solidarity among member states. While some EU countries advocated for a unified approach to asylum seekers and refugee resettlement, Poland and Hungary vehemently opposed mandatory quotas and external pressure to accept migrants.
I'm talking about the youth festival where girls were raped by illegal Muslim migration immigrants, and
you're saying it has nothing to do with Muslims, but then you're saying
Germany,
Muslims are terrorists and Muslims
where people
are rapists.
were raped as well, and that was hidden.
Right. Okay, but again, you're saying it has nothing to do with Muslims, but
of
Muslims are rapists and terrorists.
But these cases, it's true.
Okay,
it's true. But these cases are committed by illegal Muslim migration, which was proven by the police in Sweden, in Germany, in France, in many other countries.
Okay, so Dominik, let me take your logic then. And if I have to look at the biggest terrorist attack that has captured the international imagination in recent times, the Christchurch mosque attack or mosque attacks, right? Carried out by someone calling himself a Christian, right?
And the difference, I
So
think
would you
the difference
accept
between
that?
us,
Okay, so
all
is there,
the Western world
okay,
condemned this attack.
Okay, so certainly. So is there then a safety problem with Christian migrants, such as the Ukrainians, because of that mosque attack?
No. First of all, the man in Christchurch was not a migrant. I think he should spend his whole life in jail. And as I said, the whole world, Western world, condemned that. I couldn't hear condemnation from the Saudi Arabia or other Sharia law states after many, many terrorist attacks in Sweden, where we have Malmö and other places where police is afraid to get in. So I'm talking about the scale and the reaction. The scale is completely different. And the reaction from our side, as a Christians and as a Western civilization, compare it with the Saudis, with Iran, where people are hanged for their homosexuality.
Okay, you're talking about Saudi and you're talking about
different
Iran
religion.
and all these
it's
places,
completely
right?
different.
Okay. But these are places that are not affected by migration, right? What I'm asking you, Dominic, right? Has Poland had a history of problems with Muslims? Yes or no?
No.
Okay.
No, not at all.
How many Muslims are in Poland?
Not at all. We've got Tatars. We've got Tatars who are, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Listen,
how many Muslims
we've
are
got
in Poland?
Tatars who are in Poland for 700 years.
Yeah.
1%, maybe.
It's less than
not even that.
0.1%.
But what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say that we want to have peaceful people. It has nothing to do with a religion. It has nothing to do with Islamophobia.
But you just told me it has
As I said, we've got Tatars
religion.
who are so peaceful, who fought.
You just said you won't have one because they're related to terrorism and rapes, right?
Radical. Imran, listen to me. I'm talking about the wave of illegal migration, which started in 2015. Not about religion, but it's linked to the religion and radical Islamists.
But if I have to look at Poland's history,
wave and about this madness started by Germany.
Poland's defiance of EU directives, particularly under the new EU pact proposing fines for member states refusing to accept migrants, sparked a diplomatic standoff. The Polish government argued that accepting migrants without proper vetting processes would jeopardise national security and social cohesion. This stance resonated with many Central and Eastern European countries wary of imposed immigration policies that ignored regional realities and historical contexts. Amid the geopolitical manoeuvres and diplomatic tensions, Poland faced significant humanitarian challenges. The influx of migrants, including vulnerable groups such as women and children, strained local resources and humanitarian aid capacities. Reports of overcrowded shelters, inadequate healthcare and sanitary conditions underscored the urgent need for a coordinated EU response to address the humanitarian fallout.
Certainly, Dominic, historically, Poland has had far more problems with Christians than they have had with Muslims, haven't they? Have Muslims been involved in partitions, death camps, invasions in Poland?
No. As you know, our King Sobieski stopped Muslims in Vienna. So that's the very huge achievement in the history of Polish history.
Okay,
if not King Sobieski,
in the 18th century, Poland was partitioned 3 times. Was it by Muslim powers?
You know what hijra means.
And I'm saying you want to talk about Vienna. What I'm saying is, okay, if we want to go to history, Poland was partitioned 3 times. Was it done by Muslim powers? Dominic?
No, what I'm saying is, this war of civilization, as I call it, is just a fact. Okay. I'm not going to.
But those are the words also of the shooter in
Saudi
Christchurch.
Arabia. I'm not going to Iran.
The shooter in Christchurch in his manifesto said he's fighting this war of civilization as well.
Condemn
against Muslims that he can't name that are all against him.
I know. Okay, but how many terror attacks? How many terror attacks were committed by Christians in the name of the religion? How many were shouting, Christ is the Lord? None. 0. And every single committed by the Muslim is followed by Allah Akbar.
Yeah,
that's the fact.
Okay,
and the difference between criminals
it's the association you're making with
is that they are not committing it in the name of the faith.
Can I go back to your agreements with Brussels, or you're being a part of the club, right? So as an outsider looking in, as Poland being a member of the European Union, when it came to the quotas, so the European Union said, okay, guys, we're all in the same club together. There's a refugee crisis, right? And we need to have quotas. We need to share the burden. From the outside looking in, it looked as if with Poland, it was as if everybody had agreed to go out to dinner and split the bill.
Legally, Poland navigated the complexities of international law and EU regulations governing asylum and immigration. The country insisted on rigorous adherence to legal protocols, including the Dublin Regulation, which determines the EU member state responsible for processing asylum claims. This legal framework became a focal point in Poland's defence against accusations of non-compliance with EU standards. Domestically, the immigration crisis fuelled intense political discourse and public debate in Poland. The government's firm stance on border security garnered support from nationalist factions and conservative voters who viewed immigration as a threat to national identity and economic stability. Conversely, opposition parties and human rights advocates criticised Poland's handling of asylum seekers, citing concerns over human rights violations and international obligations.
Everybody went out to dinner, everybody ate, but at the end, Poland said, oh no, I'm not paying because I took my other friend out for lunch earlier and I paid. I brought in Ukrainian migrants, I brought in 2 million, so I don't want to be a part of this burden. Why do you guys stay a part of this club if you so fundamentally disagree with the Germans and the others on absolutely everything? Why do you bother?
Because Germany and Russians, they want to drink Dom Perignon, and they want us to drink water. That is the difference. So if they want us to have a lunch together and split the bill, they have to eat the same thing and they drink the same thing. The club means that we are equal. We have the same rights and the same duties. But it doesn't work this way. Germany asked for a deal with Russians. I'm talking about Nord Stream 2. French, they are selling Mistrals to Russia. They are making a business. They don't care about our safety. And then they want us to pay the bill. It doesn't work this way. It's not going to work this way. We will never agree for the deals with the Russians and not saying anything.
Right.
So if they want solidarity, if they want to have this club with us as a partners, they have to behave like a partners. Mistrals from France and Nord Stream 2 are the symbols. Obviously, there is much more to be given as an example. So, first of all, it's not us who started this madness. It's Germany who started.
Right.
Angela Merkel was looking for cheap labor, so she found out that they want to work, that they want to contribute to this society by their taxes. They don't want to learn language. And then she decided, okay, so let's spread them around. Let's say that this is our responsibility, not mine. And then we're going to get rid of this problem. No. We're not going to take any of those. It's not our war. It's not our colony. We never had any colonies in our history. So we want to be a partner. We want to be equal partner with the same rights and the same duties. That's why I keep repeating, not even one illegal will come to Poland ever.
Dominic, it's been really great getting into the mind of the current Polish government, and good to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us.
The media played a crucial role in shaping public perception and international coverage of the crisis. Polish and international journalists provided first-hand accounts of the challenges faced by migrants and the complex dynamics at play along the Polish-Belarusian border. These reports highlighted both the humanitarian plight of migrants and the broader implications for EU unity and international diplomacy. Beyond its immediate borders, Poland's response to the immigration crisis carried significant strategic implications for European security and geopolitical stability. The crisis underscored the vulnerabilities of EU external borders and the need for enhanced cooperation in managing migration flows and addressing root causes of displacement.
Almost every day we receive information that reveals problems with the assimilation of immigrants in Europe. Despite the European Union's open migration policy, the problems are becoming worse. These are, first of all, security threats. This can be seen in all the statistics. For example, rape in France, there are 25 times more than in Poland. And there is a similar ratio inside France. I mean, France in the 1970s and France today. They are completely different countries. In recent days, there have been several. Germans are in further shock after Friday's knife attack in Mannheim. The attacker injured 6 people, including an intervening police officer whom he stabbed in the throat. The officer died of his wounds. The perpetrator of the tragedy turned out to be a 25-year-old Afghan who had been living in Germany since 2014. I'm deeply shocked by the death of a police officer who courageously intervened in Mannheim to protect human life. Less than 2 months ago, the tragedy unfolded of a 39-year-old Polish man in Sweden who was brutally shot dead in front of his son. The teenagers who were detained in connection with the case, 17-year-old Yasin Z and 18-year-old Nasima B, have Swedish citizenship, but from Sweden, they are not. In France last year, on the other hand, a 31-year-old man attacked children playing in a playground. He stabbed 4 preschool-aged children and 2 adults. The perpetrator turned out to be a Syrian who had previously sought asylum in France. Will the scenes we see in our Western neighbours soon be our everyday reality in Poland? Do we need to fear for our safety and that of our loved ones? The immigration pact leaves many unknowns, and politicians of the ruling party do not leave clear answers as to what the future of our country will look like. Marcin Bakalowski, TV Republica.
Poland's alignment with Visegrad Group countries, including Hungary, Czech Republic and Slovakia, signalled a united front against centralised EU immigration policies. This alliance, often characterised by shared concerns over sovereignty and national security, challenged the EU's ability to enforce uniform asylum and migration policies across member states. The crisis also had reverberations in broader international relations, particularly in relations with Belarus and Russia. Poland accused Belarusian authorities of state-sponsored aggression through hybrid warfare tactics, including the weaponization of migrants. The alleged involvement of Russian interests in supporting Belarusian actions further complicated diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions and restore regional stability. Poland's engagement with NATO and bilateral security agreements underscored its commitment to regional defence and deterrence against external threats. The integration of military responses with diplomatic initiatives aimed to safeguard Poland's sovereignty and protect the integrity of EU borders against unconventional security challenges. As Poland navigated the immigration crisis, it confronted multifaceted challenges that tested its resilience, diplomacy and commitment to EU principles. The crisis highlighted the need for comprehensive immigration policies that balance humanitarian obligations with national security imperatives. Poland's experience underscored the importance of sovereignty in shaping regional responses to migration and security threats. Looking ahead, Poland continues to advocate for a strengthened EU border security framework and enhanced cooperation among member states. The lessons learned from the immigration crisis underscored the imperative of proactive diplomacy, strategic foresight, and solidarity in confronting complex geopolitical challenges. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel.